Story 1. The bitter winter wind howled through the skeletal branches of the ancient trees that surrounded my isolated cabin, nestled deep in the heart of the snow-covered woods. I huddled by the fireplace, desperately trying to fend off the bone-chilling cold that seeped through the cracks in the wooden walls. The flickering flames cast eerie shadows on the walls, and the distant sound of wolves howling added to the ominous atmosphere that hung in the air. Christmas Eve was supposed to be a time of joy and warmth, but this year, a darkness had descended upon the forest. Strange occurrences had plagued me in the days leading up to the holiday, a sense of foreboding that clung to the air like a suffocating mist. On that fateful night, I sat alone in the dimly lit cabin, the only source of light coming from the feeble glow of the embers. As the clock struck midnight, an unnatural hush fell over the woods. The silence was broken by a soft, haunting melody that seemed to emanate from the shadows themselves. The ghostly notes of a twisted carol echoed through the trees, sending shivers down my spine. I rose from my chair, compelled by an unseen force to investigate the mysterious music that surrounded me. The wooden floor creaked beneath my weight as I moved toward the door, the oppressive stillness of the night pressing in on me. With trepidation, I stepped outside, the frigid air biting at my skin. The moon cast an ethereal glow on the snow-covered ground, revealing a path of crimson footprints leading into the forest. Fear gripped my heart as I followed the ominous trail, each step intensifying the unsettling feeling that I was being drawn into a malevolent force beyond my comprehension. The crimson footprints led me deeper into the heart of the woods, where the trees stood like silent sentinels, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The haunting melody grew louder, its source impossible to pinpoint. The oppressive darkness closed in around me, and the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. As I ventured further, the snow beneath my boots crunched with an unsettling rhythm, as if the forest floor itself pulsed with an unseen heartbeat. A spectral mist coiled around the trees, creating fleeting glimpses of ghostly figures that seemed to dance just beyond my peripheral vision. The forest opened up to a small clearing, and there, bathed in the eerie moonlight, stood a dilapidated carousel. Its rusted frame groaned with each slow revolution, and the spectral melody emanated from its ghostly riders, children frozen in time, their eyes wide with a silent scream. My breath caught in my throat as the realization struck me. They were the echoes of children who had once reveled in the joy of Christmas, now trapped in a macabre carnival of the afterlife. The crimson footprints led to the carousel, where a spectral figure, draped in tattered robes, stood at the center, conducting the spectral orchestra with skeletal hands. The figure turned to face me, revealing hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through the very fabric of my soul. A voice, both ethereal and mournful, echoed in my mind, recounting a tale of a long-forgotten tragedy that befell the children of the woods. As the spectral conductor continued its lament, the carousel accelerated, the twisted carol reaching a crescendo. The ground trembled beneath me, and the air crackled with a malevolent force. Shadows writhed around the clearing, coalescing into grotesque forms that mirrored the tormented souls trapped within the carousel. Desperation clawed at me as I tried to flee, but an unseen force held me in place. The ghostly children's eyes pleaded for release, their anguished expressions etched into the fabric of the night. In a final, haunting wail, the carousel abruptly halted. The spectral conductor turned to face me once more, its hollow eyes expressing a silent plea for salvation. With a surge of courage, I stepped forward, reaching out to touch the rusted frame. The air crackled with energy, and the carousel disintegrated into a burst of ethereal light. The haunting melody faded into the wind, and the crimson footprints vanished, leaving only the pristine snow. The forest fell silent, the malevolent force lifted. As dawn broke on Christmas morning, the ancient trees stood sentinel once more, their secrets buried deep within the heart of the woods. Haunted by the echoes of that fateful night, I returned to my cabin, the warmth of the fireplace a stark contrast to the chilling events in the woods. The darkness that had descended upon the forest was lifted, but the memories of the spectral carousel and its tormented riders lingered, a reminder that even in the depths of winter, the spirits of the past could awaken and weave their haunting tales. Story 2. The bitter wind clawed at my face as I stood before the imposing structure that was my parents' old mansion. The dilapidated mansion loomed like a ghost from my childhood, shrouded in a thick blanket of snow that muffled the night's ominous silence. The once grand estate had fallen into a state of disrepair after my parents' untimely demise. The sprawling grounds, now covered in a pristine layer of white, betrayed no hint of the darkness that lay within. Reluctantly, I pushed open the creaking gate, its rusty hinges groaning in protest, as if warning me to turn back. Christmas Eve had always been a joyous occasion in the mansion, a time when laughter echoed through its cavernous halls and the warmth of family bonds filled every room. But that was before the whispers began, before the shadows took on a life of their own. As I stepped into the foyer, memories of happier times clashed with the chilling reality that awaited me. The air inside was frigid, despite the crackling fireplace that struggled to illuminate the gloom. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following my every move. Heading toward the grand staircase, I couldn't ignore the portraits lining the walls. Painted smiles seemed to mock me from their gilded frames, capturing the essence of a family that had once known joy. My footsteps echoed through the empty halls, creating a haunting melody that resonated with the mansion's forlorn history. The door to the study groaned open as if beckoning me inside. Reluctantly, I entered the room that held the key to the darkness that had enveloped my family. The air grew thicker, and the shadows danced as if possessed by malevolent spirits. My father's old leather chair creaked as if someone had just vacated it, yet the room remained empty. The scent of aged books mingled with an acrid undertone, and the fireplace flickered, casting grotesque shapes on the walls. It was then that I heard the faint sound of a child's laughter, a ghostly echo from the past. Dread clung to me like a suffocating fog as I retraced my steps to the hallway. A melody, haunting and out of tune, emanated from the grand piano in the ballroom. The once grand space, now adorned with tattered curtains and shattered glass, seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. As I approached the piano, the notes grew louder, more desperate. The keys moved of their own accord, playing a mournful tune that sent shivers down my spine. A phantom child appeared, dancing in the moonlight that filtered through the broken windows. Its eyes were empty, devoid of the innocence that once resided within them. Desperation clawed at my chest as I stumbled backward, only to be met with the spectral gaze of my parents. They stood in the doorway, their eyes hollow and accusing. It was then that I understood, the mansion held their tormented souls, trapped in a nightmarish purgatory. A bone-chilling wind howled through the halls, extinguishing the flickering candles and plunging the mansion into darkness. The anguished wails of my family echoed, blending with the haunting melody that seemed to pierce the very fabric of reality. Terrified, I fled the mansion, the echoes of that cursed Christmas Eve forever etched into my soul. As I stumbled through the snow-covered grounds, I couldn't escape the feeling that the spirits of my family lingered, condemned to relive their final moments in the cold embrace of that forsaken mansion. Story 3. The twinkling lights adorned the houses along Chestnut Street, and a gentle snowfall painted the town in a serene blanket of white. Christmas Eve was supposed to be a night of joy and celebration, but the atmosphere in Chestnut Falls carried an unsettling undercurrent that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I had volunteered to help with the last-minute preparations for the town's Christmas festival. The community center bustled with activity as people set up decorations, wrapped gifts, and prepared for the arrival of Santa Claus. However, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a strange chill settled in the air, as if the festive cheer had given way to something more ominous. As the appointed time approached, a sense of unease gripped the volunteers. The door creaked open, and a figure, clad in a tattered Santa suit, shuffled in, carrying a sack that emitted an eerie, muffled sound. The room fell silent as the dark Santa's presence cast a shadow over the festivities. His beard, once white as freshly fallen snow, now hung in twisted, gnarled strands. His eyes, concealed behind a pair of cracked spectacles, gleamed with a malevolence that sent shivers down my spine. The children, who had eagerly gathered to meet Santa, now hesitated, their excitement replaced by a palpable fear. The dark Santa made his way to the makeshift throne, his every step echoing through the room like a death knell. As he took his seat, the unsettling sound from his sack grew more pronounced. Whispers rippled through the crowd, each person exchanging nervous glances. With a theatrical flourish, the Dark Santa opened his sack, revealing not gifts, but a collection of weathered dolls that bore an uncanny resemblance to the children in the room. A collective gasp filled the air as realization dawned on the parents and volunteers alike. The dolls seemed to come to life in the dim light, their eyes wide with a sinister glint. The Dark Santa's voice, a low, guttural growl, cut through the hushed whispers. "Tonight, my dears, you shall receive the gift of everlasting joy," he declared, his words sending a chill down my spine. The room descended into chaos as panic erupted. Parents clutched their children, desperately trying to escape the malevolent presence that had infiltrated their festive haven. I, too, felt the tendrils of fear tightening around my heart, urging me to flee. As I stumbled backward, I caught a glimpse of the Dark Santa, his spectral form surrounded by a halo of darkness. The room seemed to warp and twist, the festive decorations turning grotesque in the tainted atmosphere. I sprinted through the snow-covered streets, the distant screams of the townsfolk echoing in my ears. The once joyful Christmas Eve had transformed into a nightmare, and the Dark Santa, a harbinger of malevolence, had stolen the joy and warmth from Chestnut Falls. As I reached the edge of town, I dared not look back. The memory of the Dark Santa and his macabre gift would forever linger in the corners of my mind, casting a shadow over the once festive holiday. In Chestnut Falls, the tale of the Dark Santa became a cautionary legend, a reminder that even on Christmas Eve, darkness could descend, and the line between joy and horror could blur into a twisted nightmare. Like and subscribe if you want more stories.